Take a look at the young woman in this photograph. Can you believe it? That's me, and the tall, slender young man standing beside me with that gentle smile, that's Harold, my Harold. This photo was taken in the summer of 1956. That year, I had just turned 21, and he was 23. We were standing there, hand in hand, making promises that we would be together for a lifetime. To be honest with you, back then, the two of us were just kids. We didn't really understand what a lifetime meant. We truly believed that marriage would be like a fairy tale, always pink, always happy. But that lifetime lasted exactly 60 years. From that bright summer day in 1956 to the moment he took his final breath in my arms in 2016. We walked side by side for 6 decades. We raised 3 children together, moved houses 5 times, and shared thousands of dinners at the same table. We held each other's hands through the years when our pockets were empty, and all the way to the days when both our heads had turned white as snow. People often look at our love story and say, "Oh, Peggy, you two were so lucky to have found the perfect other half." But my friends, let me tell you the truth. Luck only played a very small part. A marriage that lasts 60 years is not a miracle. And it certainly isn't because we were perfect for each other. It lasted because we were 2 imperfect people who made the decision not to give up on one another. It took effort. It took patience. It took choosing to stay, even on the days when every part of you wants to turn away and walk out. Today, I want to share what I have learned. I want to tell you why love is not a feeling, because feelings fade easily. But real love, it is what remains when the early excitement has quietly disappeared. The first lesson, and I believe it is the hardest one to swallow, is this: love is an action, not a feeling. Young people often think love is a racing heartbeat. The nervous excitement when you see their name pop up on your phone, the feeling that you can't live without one another. Yes, that is love, but that is only the love of the first 2 years. Science has proven this already. That intense, burning feeling, the one we call butterflies in the stomach, it fades. It always fades with time. And when it's gone, what do you have left? Let me be honest with you. In the 60 years I lived with Harold, I did not look at him every single day with hearts in my eyes. There were days when I watched him sitting on the couch, watching television, and I felt bored. There were days when his snoring, or his habit of tossing his socks everywhere, drove me absolutely crazy. There were moments when I thought to myself, why on earth did I choose this stubborn old man? And that is exactly when real love begins to speak. Loving someone when they are handsome, sweet, and bringing you flowers. Well, anyone can do that. That part is easy. But loving them when they are sick, vomiting, irritable, or when they have failed, that is the test. Love is this. At 3 o'clock in the morning, when Harold had a high fever, even though my eyes were heavy with sleep and my body was exhausted, I still crawled out from under a warm blanket and went into the kitchen to cook him a bowl of onion porridge. Did I feel romantic in that moment? Not at all. All I wanted was to sleep, but I did it anyway, because I had chosen to love him. My friends, do not wait for feelings to lead the way. On the days when you do not feel love for your spouse, act as if you love them. That is commitment. And it is commitment, not those racing heartbeats that carries two people together to the very end of the road. The second lesson, this is a secret very few people ever tell you before you get married. It is this: within one single lifetime, you will be married to many different people. That sounds strange, doesn't it? I don't mean that I had many husbands. I only ever had one Harold. But the truth is, Harold at 20 was completely different from Harold at 40, and even more different from Harold at 80. We human beings are like a river, always flowing, always changing. We are not statues meant to stand still. I once married a romantic 23-year-old Harold, a young man who wrote me poems every morning. I loved that man deeply. But 10 years later, that young man disappeared. In his place stood a middle-aged man struggling with unemployment. He was irritable, quiet, and sighed a lot. To be honest with you, I truly disliked that version of him. Later on, he changed again into a successful man who was busy from morning to night. And in the end, he became an absent-minded old man, constantly forgetting his keys and moving more slowly with each step. If back then I had stubbornly demanded that 40-year-old Harold remain just as romantic and carefree as he was at 20, we would have been divorced a long time ago. My secret to keeping love alive for 60 years is this: learn how to fall in love all over again. Each time he changed, I had to learn how to love the new version of him. And in return, he had to patiently learn how to love my wrinkles and my growing stubbornness as I aged. My friends, never say words of blame like, "You've changed," or "You're not the person you used to be." Of course they have changed. Your task is not to force them to stand still. Your task is to be willing to marry that stranger. One more time. The third lesson. Let me ask you something. Have you ever argued with your partner? If your answer is no, then either you've only been together for a week or you're not being honest. Living with another person for 60 years means you will have thousands of reasons to disagree. Harold and I argued all the time. We argued about how to raise the children, about money, and sometimes we even argued because he forgot to put the cap back on the toothpaste. But we had one unwritten rule that saved our marriage hundreds of times. The rule was this: we are on the same team. I remember one time when we had a very big fight. I was so angry that I sent him to sleep on the couch. All night long, I tossed and turned, swearing that the next morning I wouldn't even look at his face. But when I opened the bedroom door the next morning, I saw a hot cup of coffee waiting on the table, made exactly the way I like it. Less sugar, more milk. He was still angry with me. His face was tight, and he didn't say a word. But he made me coffee anyway. That action seemed to say, I'm still upset with you, but I still love you, and I still care whether you're awake enough to go to work. My younger friends, the biggest mistake people make during an argument is trying to win. We want to prove, I'm right and you're wrong, end quote. But think about it. In a marriage, if you win an argument against your spouse, what do you actually gain? Do you get a gold medal? No. You end up with a wounded partner and a cold, heavy silence in the house. Remember this well. The two of you are teammates playing on the same field. The enemy is the problem, the debt, the conflict, the misunderstanding. not the person standing in front of you. If you score a goal against your own team just to prove how good you are, the whole team still loses. So argue in order to understand each other, not to defeat each other. The fourth lesson. This is something Hollywood films have been lying to us about for years. They make us believe that true love must look like diamond rings, giant bouquets of 99 roses, or luxurious vacations in Paris. But my friends, a marriage rarely dies from one fatal stab. It usually fades away slowly from thousands of small cuts. It dies when you stop asking how the other person is doing, when you stop looking into each other's eyes, and when you start taking their presence for granted. Love, on the other hand, survives on small daily vitamins. In 60 years of marriage, I'll be honest with you, Harold never once gave me a diamond. We simply weren't rich enough for that. But he gave me something far more valuable. Every single morning, before walking out the door to work, no matter how rushed he was, he would gently kiss my forehead and say, "Goodbye, my love, I'm heading out." For 60 years, more than 20,000 days, he never forgot, not even once. Even on the days when we were angry with each other, he still kissed me. The kiss might have been quicker, a little firmer, tinged with irritation, but he still did it. And we had one unbreakable rule. Sunday afternoons were for tea. No television, no phones, no children. Just two old souls sitting on the porch, drinking tea, and talking about nothing in particular. Those small, ordinary moments, the ones that seem boring, are the cement that holds the bricks of a marriage together, not expensive trips. So here is my advice. Never stop courting one another. Never hold back the words "thank you." When your wife cooks a good meal, never forget to say, "I'm sorry." When you speak too harshly, water your love every day with small drops. Don't wait until the tree has dried up and then pour an entire bucket of water on it. By then, it's already too late. And this is the final lesson, the most sacred one I want to leave with you. Holding hands in a storm is worth 1,000 times more than kissing under clear skies. When people get married, they all recite the vows, in sickness and in health, for richer or for poorer. Saying those words is easy. You smile as you say them, but only when sickness and poverty truly knock on your door. Do you understand how heavy those vows really are? People often assume that the most romantic time of our lives was our honeymoon on the beach. It wasn't. The time when our love was deepest, closest, most intertwined was during the final 2 years of Harold's life. By then, he had suffered a stroke and was bedridden. The tall, strong man who had protected me all his life now lay there, fragile like a child. I became his legs. I fed him spoon by spoon, washed his body every day, and stayed awake through the night whenever he struggled to breathe. In the sharp smell of hospital disinfectant, in those long, desperate nights, there were no candles, no flowers, no sweet words of flirtation. There were only two bare human beings, facing life and death, clinging to one another in order to survive. That pain fused us into one. Only then did I truly understand what it means to be two people, yet one. I felt his pain as my own, and he lived on through my strength. My younger friends, life is not always clear skies and calm seas. Storms will come, bankruptcy, loss, illness. But please, do not be afraid, and do not let go of each other and run. When the dark clouds begin to gather, see hardship as the glue. Those storms will wash away shallow affection and leave behind the purest gold within. Love that has been forged in fire is the love that lasts forever. Harold has been gone for 10 years now. 10 years is a long, long time for a lonely old woman. But you know what? He never truly disappeared. His love is still here, right here in this house. I see his mischievous smile on the face of our youngest son. I see his steadiness in the way my granddaughter works, and I feel his warmth every time I sit alone, drinking tea on a Sunday afternoon. Someone once asked me, "You loved him so deeply, was the pain unbearable when he passed away?" The answer is yes. It hurts as if someone tore half of your soul away. But that is the price. The unbearable pain of separation is the price you pay for a deep and meaningful love. And if I could turn back time, even knowing that the ending would hurt this much, I would still choose him. I would pay that price 1,000 times over just to be able to love him. My dear younger friends, the world today moves too fast. When something breaks, people throw it away and buy a new one. But love is not a piece of clothing. Do not throw away a coat just because it has lost a single button. Be patient. Take out a needle and thread and sew it back on. Those stitches, those scars, they are proof that love has grown. Do not be afraid of growing old, and do not be afraid of boredom, because old love is the most beautiful, the most peaceful thing in this world. It is the kind of love where no words are needed, and the other person already knows what you are thinking. From the very bottom of my heart, I wish that each of you will find someone patient enough and brave enough to grow old with you. Goodbye, my friends.